She was wearing white heels in a snowstorm. What could possibly go wrong? Claire Mitchell, a rising star in sustainable architecture, was on her way to the most important meeting of her life when her car gave out in the middle of a frozen mountain road. No cell signal, no passing cars, just silence and the biting cold. But then a stranger appeared from the trees, rugged, mysterious. Too well-spoken for a drifter, he offered help, a ride, a cabin to wait out the storm. She should have said no. Because what Claire didn't know was that this man wasn't just some kind stranger. He was America's most wanted fugitive, accused of stealing millions and vanishing into thin air. And the man waiting at the other end of her ruined meeting, he was far more dangerous. Why did the fugitive help her? Why did her blueprints make him panic? And most of all, what terrible secret was hidden beneath the land her dream resort was meant to protect? Stay with this story until the end, because what started with a flat tire might just unravel a nationwide crime and uncover a love no one saw coming. Are you ready? Let's begin. The snow was falling faster now, thick, angry flakes that seemed to swallow the road whole. Claire Mitchell stood beside her luxury sedan, staring in disbelief at her shredded front tire. The cold bit through her tailored white suit and her heels sank into the accumulating snow. She looked at her phone. No signal. Of course, this can't be happening, she muttered, exasperated. How the hell am I supposed to meet Sullivan like this? A voice answered her, not from the wind, but from a figure approaching through the white haze. You're not getting anywhere on that tire, the man said, crouching next to her vehicle. Claire turned sharply. He looked rugged, weathered jeans, a brown jacket dusted in snow, and eyes that didn't quite match the rest of him. Too calm, too focused, and oddly gentle. You have a spare? He asked, inspecting the tire with oddly practiced precision. No, I was headed to a meeting. It's in 2 hours, Aspen. I can't be late, Claire said, her voice half frozen, half furious. I've got a jack and a spare in my truck, the man offered, gesturing toward an older 4x4 idling nearby. Could help you out? Claire hesitated. Something about him didn't quite add up. Too well-spoken, too precise. Was he just being kind, or was there more to this? I'm Claire Mitchell, she said, extending a gloved hand. Daniel, he replied simply. No last name. She squinted. You live around here. I'm just taking a break from the city. Needed space. Claire nodded, half listening as he worked. I'm an architect, she said quickly, presenting a new eco-resort concept. This could be the contract of my career. Daniel paused when she said that name. Richard Sullivan, the man Claire was going to meet. His jaw tightened just for a second, subtle, but Claire caught it. What was that? Inside Daniel's mind raced. Richard Sullivan, the man who'd framed him, stolen his company, and turned him into a fugitive. Overnight, Claire was walking straight into the lion's den, and she had no idea he needed to act fast while replacing the front tire. Daniel subtly tampered with the rear one, just enough for it to lose air slowly. It had to look like coincidence, natural, like fate. Minutes later, Claire's phone rang. She stepped away to answer, finally a signal. Sullivan. Yes, I had a tire blowout. A man stopped to help. You're sending your driver. That's perfect. I'm about 30 kilometers from Aspen. Daniel overheard everything while pretending to focus on lug nuts. Another gust of snow slammed them. Claire wrapped her arms around herself, shivering. This storm's getting worse, Daniel said, standing. There's a cabin about a mile from here. Belongs to some friends. You can warm up. Wait out the weather. Claire hesitated. I don't know you. Her phone lost signal again. She tried to redial. Nothing. No bars. Then hiss. The rear tire gave out completely. What the? Are you serious? She snapped, staring at the deflated rubber. Is this some kind of sick joke? Daniel shrugged apologetically. I can't fix both, and you're not getting far in this storm. Even Sullivan's driver might not reach you. Left with no real options, Claire gave him a wary glance. Fine, but I'm not exactly in the mood to get murdered in the woods, so don't try anything. Daniel didn't answer. He just opened the door to his truck and waited. Inside the cabin, warmth poured from the fireplace Daniel expertly lit. It was modest wooden remote, but clearly well-designed. Claire, while still suspicious, couldn't help but admire it. Whoever built this understood nature. she said, tracing her fingers along the windowsill. Architect Daniel said, pouring tea, daughter of the original owners. She was like you, always drawing up ways to make the land part of the structure. Not the other way around. Claire looked at him puzzled. You speak like someone who's done more than just take a break from the city. He smiled faintly, not answering. Outside, the storm howled inside. Silence grew heavier between them. What do you do? Claire finally asked. Sipping the tea. I used to design systems, he said carefully. Energy efficiency, clean tech startups. Her brow rose. Used to sometimes, Daniel said with a tight smile. The wrong partner can change everything. She nodded slowly. Sullivan's that kind of man, Daniel's gaze darkened. You trust him? Claire hesitated. I don't know. This deal, it's everything I've worked for. My designs, they're good. And if he backs them, I can make real change. Daniel looked at the tablet she held. Mind showing me. Claire pulled it out as surprised. It still had battery. It's a self-sustaining model. Solar panels hidden in the trees. Water collection systems. Thermal insulation built from recycled material. Daniel stared at the screen, then looked at her. These locations, he pointed. Do you know what lies underneath them? What do you mean? Gold, silver, possibly lithium. Sullivan isn't investing in sustainability. He's covering for something else. Claire's eyes narrowed. How do you know that? Daniel looked away. I've spent time in these mountains, the locals talk. She leaned back, her brain working now. Was this a warning or manipulation? Who was this man really? What would you do if the person saving your life turned out to be the most wanted man in the country? I'm so sorry to pause the story here, but we'll continue in the next part. Before we move on, let me ask you, do you think Claire should trust Daniel after what he just hinted? What would you do if someone you just met knew too much about your future boss? Let me know in the comments. And by the way, where are you watching from? We'd love to hear your country. If you enjoyed the story so far, please hit that heart and like the video. It really helps us keep sharing more stories like this. The storm had calmed by morning, but something colder lingered in the air. Doubt. Claire awoke to the scent of coffee and the quiet crackling of a dying fire. She sat up in the modest cabin bed, her mind clouded with thoughts of Daniel, of Sullivan, and of what could possibly be lying beneath the eco-resort's pristine blueprints. Daniel was sitting at the wooden table, lost in thought, a map spread before him. Morning, she said, brushing snow-dried hair from her face. Morning, he replied, glancing up with a quiet intensity. Coffee? She nodded. Strong, the strongest legal kind. He said with a half smile, but something was off. His eyes were tired, restless, like someone who hadn't slept, not because of the storm, but because of a storm inside his mind. Before she could ask anything, a sound crunching, tires on snow echoed outside. They both froze. Claire moved to the window just as a red SUV pulled up outside. Her breath caught. Rachel, she murmured. Her younger sister, Rachel Mitchell, leapt out of the vehicle, still wearing her journalist badge on her belt, phone in one hand and fire in her eyes. She didn't knock. She threw the door open. Claire, she shouted, storming in. Are you okay? I've been calling you all night. Sullivan said, you never showed. What the hell is going on? But then she saw him. Rachel's entire posture changed. Her eyes widened. She took a step back. You, she hissed, pointing. You're Daniel Carter, the man wanted for multi-million-dollar fraud, the tech guy who vanished 6 months ago. You're all over the news. Claire spun around Daniel. Is that true? Daniel didn't flinch. He simply sighed, slowly rising. Yes, he said. It's true, but it's not the whole truth. Isn't that what every liar says? Rachel reached for her phone. Claire blocked her. Wait, he saved me. He warned me about Sullivan. Rachel didn't lower her phone. Claire, do you even know what this man is accused of? Daniel spoke before Claire could. Sullivan was my business partner. He framed me, used my clean energy technology as a front for illegal mining operations. When I found out, he made sure I'd take the fall. You expect us to believe that? Rachel snapped. No, I expect you to check your own leads. Daniel replied. I saw your bylines. You've been digging into Sullivan's land acquisitions, haven't you? Did anything ever feel off? Rachel paused. Just for a second, Claire jumped in. Rachel, he knew things about the resort sites, things no outsider should know, mineral deposits, energy flow. My design, it's being used as cover for something darker. You know it too, don't you? Rachel slowly lowered her phone. I've been following Sullivan for months. There were rumors, no proof, until now. Suddenly, outside, the sound of multiple engines approaching. 3 black SUVs emerged from the trees, tires grinding the icy path. Daniel's face turned grim. We have to move. Claire turned to Rachel. Can we trust him? Rachel met Daniel's eyes and looked to her sister. Do we have a choice? Daniel rushed to the back of the cabin. There's a hidden exit through the wardrobe. Hurry before they could slip out the front door, thundered with pounding fists. We know you're in there. A gruff voice boomed, just come out and no one gets hurt. Claire's pulse raced. She barely had time to grab her coat. Through the back door, they emerged into a wall of white forest. Rachel clutched her laptop bag. Daniel limped slightly, his knees stiff from the day before. Still, he led them like someone who had run through these woods before. But then dogs barking. Getting closer, they've got trackers. Rachel gasped. Daniel guided them down a sharp incline where a frozen stream split the woods. Careful, he warned. Claire slipped heels, never meant for terrain like this. She shrieked as she slid, but before she could hit the rocks below, Daniel dove and caught her, breaking her fall, but injuring his leg worse in the process. I'm fine, she gasped. I'm not. He winced. Rachel helped pull them up. They continued, Daniel leaning on Claire now. Behind them, the sound of men and dogs drew nearer. What would you do if the only way out meant trusting someone? The world called a criminal? They reached an abandoned logging cabin, breathless inside. Daniel collapsed to the floor, clutching his knee. Claire stood above him. Why did you come after me? Why risk yourself for someone you barely know? Daniel looked up at her, snow crusted in his beard, pain in his eyes. Because I couldn't let Sullivan destroy someone else. Claire's breath caught. For the first time, she wasn't sure if what she felt was fear or something else entirely. I'm so sorry to interrupt the story here, but we'll pick up right where we left off in next part. Before we continue, let me ask you, do you think Daniel is telling the truth, or is this just another layer of deception? If you were Claire, would you risk everything to help a man like him or walk away? Tell me in the comments below. And hey, what country are you watching from? We'd love to know where you're joining us from. If you're enjoying this journey, don't forget to hit that like button and drop a heart. Every click helps us keep sharing more stories just like this. Rachel slammed the cabin door shut behind her. Breathing hard, laptop still clutched to her chest. Snow streaked her coat. Claire helped Daniel to the small sofa where he sank down with a hiss of pain. His leg had stiffened, swollen beneath the fabric of his jeans. Rachel opened her laptop. We don't have much time. If what you say is true, Daniel about the mining about Sullivan, then we need evidence. Proof, not just theories. Daniel pulled a flash drive from the inside of his coat. I've been compiling documents for months. Financial records, satellite data, anonymous tip-offs from former employees. And there's one man who can confirm it all. Javier Reed, Sullivan's former accountant. But he's in hiding. Claire leaned forward. Can we find him? Rachel was already typing. I can try. But if Sullivan realizes we're after him, he won't wait. He'll crush us before we ever make it to court. A sudden knock rattled the windows. Everyone froze. This wasn't a demand. This wasn't yelling or threats. Just a knock, then a voice. Calm, cold. Claire Mitchell. Daniel Carter. I know you're in there. Sullivan. Rachel closed the laptop in a snap. We've been found. Daniel stood wincing, grabbing a heavy flashlight as if it were a weapon. There's a service tunnel under the floorboards. I noticed it earlier. It leads out to the road. Claire turned to Rachel. Can you stall them? Rachel gave a fierce smile. I've stalled Congressman. This guy won't know what hit him. While Rachel opened the door and began talking fast, too fast for Sullivan to interrupt. Daniel and Claire slipped into the tunnel. It was dark, damp, and barely wide enough to crawl through. But as they moved forward, Claire whispered, You never answered me. What happens if we do bring this all down? what happens to you? Daniel hesitated. If we win, I get my name back, maybe even my company. If we lose, I go to prison. Why did you wait for me, Daniel? You could have disappeared. Why risk it all for a stranger? He looked back at her in the darkness. Because you're not a stranger anymore, and I've already lost everything once. I'm not about to lose someone who actually believes in doing the right thing. At the end of the tunnel, a rusted door opened to a snowy alley behind the town. Rachel met them moments later, breathless hair windswept. I bought us time. He doesn't know you're gone yet. 2 hours later, in a safe house on the edge of Denver, Claire sat at a table with Daniel and Rachel Javier. Reed had finally answered Rachel's call. I have everything Javier said over a secure video call. Bank transfers, fake permits. Real mind maps hidden behind the eco-resort blueprints. Sullivan used Claire's designs to get environmental clearance. But it was always about the minerals. Claire's hands trembled. He used my name, my reputation, everything I stand for. Daniel placed his hand over hers, but now we use that same design to bring him down. Rachel uploaded the evidence to 3 independent news agencies and federal prosecutors. The next morning, the headlines exploded. Sullivan's empire built on fraud and illegal mining warrants were issued, arrests made. And Daniel Carter's name, once synonymous with scandal, was now linked with exposing one of the biggest eco-crimes in the country. 3 months later, Claire stood in front of the newly founded Carter Mitchell Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to real, sustainable development. Reporters crowded the lawn investors called daily, but her mind drifted to one moment back in the snowstorm when she'd thought everything was falling apart, and yet maybe it had been falling into place. Daniel approached her now in a dark blazer and no limp. You ready, are you? She asked, raising an eyebrow. He smiled. Depends. You still want to build the future with a so-called fugitive. She took his hand, only if he still believes in change. As cameras flashed and the crowd applauded their joint project, a solar-powered eco-lodge built on the same land. Sullivan once sought to exploit, Claire whispered. Funny how one broken tire changed everything. Daniel squeezed her hand. Or maybe it just revealed what was already waiting to begin. What do you think? Is it possible that the worst moments in life are sometimes just the start of something better? I'm so sorry to pause here, but thank you for staying with this story until the end. Let me ask you 2 questions. Do you believe people like Daniel, those accused, can truly find redemption and rebuild? If someone tried to manipulate your dream project for evil, would you risk your career to expose the truth? Let us know in the comments below. And one more thing, what country are you watching from? We'd love to know where our audience is joining from. If this story touched you, please like the video, drop a heart and share it with someone who loves stories with redemption, courage, and truth. If you love the story, comment no 3. If it felt just okay, comment no 2. And if it didn't meet your expectations, we welcome your feedback. Just comment no 1.